Hello everyone. Last section, we have talked about the spread of weaving and dyeing technology in the Song Dynasty. Now let's move to the new lecture, Art Spread of Dyeing and Weaving Clothing in Yuan and Ming Dynasties. In the Yuan Dynasty, due to the unprecedented communication between the East and the West, the cultural exchange between the East and the West and the influence of Chinese arts and crafts on world culture were expanded, which also provided conditions for the commercial development of the Yuan Dynasty. At that time, foreign trade was controlled by the government. Silk fabrics were the main commodities exported in the Yuan Dynasty, and the annual export volume was also quite large. In order to strengthen ties with overseas countries, expand influence, and promote national success, the Ming Emperor Ming Chengzu sent Zheng He to the Western Seas. At that time, Western refers to the present Nanyang Islands and the Indian Ocean. Zheng He led his fleet on 7 voyages to the Western Ocean in 1405, which lasted 28 years. His fleet passed through the islands of the South China Sea and traveled to many areas such as Indochina Peninsula, Nanyang Islands, India, Yuan, and Arabia, reaching as far as the eastern coast of Africa and the Red Sea. Zheng He's voyage expanded China's economic and cultural exchanges with many countries in Asia and Africa, and increased the friendship between our people and those countries. Zheng He's voyage to the West was a feat in history of world navigation. It was more than half a century earlier than Vasco da Gama's voyage to India, bypassing the Cape of Good Hope and Columbus sailing America. After Zheng He's long voyage, the number of poor farmers and craftsmen from Fujian and Guangdong in China who went to Southeast Asia gradually increased. They worked with the local people and contributed to the development of the local economic and culture. For example, Indonesia's Java Island did not have sericulture. Later, local people learned to plant mulberry, raise silkworms, and weave silk, farm Chinese boaters and expatriates. Based on the overall survey of the ocean shores, 迎崖胜览, by the Ming Dynasty, there were about 1,000 Cantonese living in Java area, and the local people's clothing was 1 or 2 handkerchiefs with silk under the waist, and then brocade or silk relief wrapped around the waist. About the same time, China's sericulture technology also spread to South Asia's Bangla, now Bangladesh. While its follow mulberry and silk are available. In addition, Chinese silk fabrics such as colored silk and colored satin are still sold to South Asian countries. In the middle of the Ming Dynasty, as the increase of agricultural and handicraft production, the commodity economy has also developed. Cotton, raw silk, tobacco, porcelain, etc. are put into the market in large quantities and become commodities for exchange. There are more than 30 large cities along the southeast coast, and canal. Beijing was the largest city in the country at that time. Guangzhou, Ningbo, Quanzhou, and Fuzhou were the main ports for foreign trade, from which large quantities of goods were exported to Japan, Southeast Asia, and other places. In the Ming Dynasty, Fujian province of China also specially produced a kind of zhangrong and zhang satin for sale in Japan. Meanwhile, the striped fabrics specially produced in Yunnan, Sichuan, and Guangdong were imported to Japan, which were loved by the people in Boduo, Xizhen, and other places, and were imitated. They called this kind of fabric Guangdong, and later changed their pronunciation due to local circulation, becoming Handong and finally Jiandao. The volume of silk trade is increasing day by day. The Ming Dynasty imported more than 200,000 jin of Japanese white silk, raw silk, in 40 years of Wanli. After the Ming and Qing dynasties, blankets produced in the Central Plains and border areas, besides being enjoyed by dignitaries, also began to be exported to Europe. According to the illustrated records of Xinjiang, only Hetian region in China has more than 3,000 woolen blankets made in the same year and imported into Afghanistan, India, and other places, while other small square woolen blankets such as chair cushions, mattress pads, saddle blankets, and beyond corn. In addition, kapis, pulu, and other furs produced in Tibet are also major commodities for domestic and overseas sales. At the same time, Western European countries are exploring a new route to the east. The interaction between the two sides has spread Chinese culture to Europe and become popular. With the opening of a new route, the Portuguese brought back Chinese porcelain, and soon a Chinese craze developed in the West. At that time, traces of Chinese landscape painting appeared in the works of Western painters. For example, Leonardo da Vinci's works, Notre Dame Among Rocks, and Mona Lisa have similar flavor to the landscape painting of the Song Dynasty in their background. Chinese scholar Fang Lili believes that in the 16th century, foreigners liked Chinese porcelain very much, just as we like LV bags today. Europeans at that time also admired Chinese culture. At that time, European families had Chinese feature, Chinese porcelain, and Chinese silk, which were the most fashionable. It can be said that whether a country's goods are fashionable is related to whether the country's culture is respected and valued. Okay, that's all the content of this course. The content of next course will be the spread of costume art in Qing Dynasty. See you next course.